Epilogue. The Northern Sea. The flat seas had transformed into a mountain range. The tops of waves were smoking with froth and spray. Men were bailing. Sade was stumbling about on the deck of the carrack. His spells of weatherworking were useless against this storm that had suddenly overtaken them. He could sense power in it, a power older and greater than his own. Salt water left his eyes stinging. Thunder left his ears ringing. Lightning exploded on the forecastle, and the afterimage glowed so bright in his vision that he was blinded. He slipped and grabbed hold of the bottom of a set of steps while he waited for his sight to return. When it did, he saw the aft mast coming down, rigging snapping in its wake. It struck the main mast, rolled, and smashed down on the cage that held the elk. The seams of the cage sagged and splintered. A hero among us. A wave hit them broadside. The carrack shuddered. Sade fought against the slanting deck, and a wall of water pummeled him. The elk was too important. They could not lose the elk. Vondalis realized this too, and appeared at the edge of Sade's vision. His brother was more sure-footed, and he danced across the main deck to the cage where the wooden slats had begun to give away. The lock was broken and swung open. Vondalis reached the cage just in time, for the elk had thrown himself up against the door. We should have left him tied up. Vondalis braced himself against a beam and gripped the bars. The tendons in his arms and neck went taut as he pushed to keep the door closed. Exposing his hands was a mistake. The elk lowered his head and raked the bars with the sharp ends of his antlers. Blood mixed with rain. Vondalis' fingers dropped to the deck boards and were swept away by pink foamy water. Lightning exploded again overhead. A man went overboard with the wave. The carrack was listing to the side. Screams. Another wave punched Sade in the back and tossed him towards the gunwale. He caught himself along the rail just as other Sevwar crew went over. In the lull that followed, he ran slipping and tripping to his brother, who remained by the main mast, his face full of fear and pain as he wrapped his arms around the mast and held on as best he could without fingers. Another wave took them. Vondalis could not hold on. Sade grabbed a loose piece of rigging with one hand, hoped it was still attached to something, and reached out to grab his brother's belt. They both slid over the deck until the rigging caught. Sade felt as if he would be torn in two as his brother's weight pulled at him. More water crashed over them. His brother was screaming, the saltwater fire in his wounds. The carrack pitched into a trough, and for a moment righted itself between waves. Sade pulled his brother close to him, then turned to check the cage. The elk crashed against the bars once more. The door swung open.